portion. We're going to Facebook Live this as well, and maybe some questions will come in on Facebook. But I'm going to walk around with the microphone, and if you have a question, please raise your hand, and we will take it from there. Anyone? Anyone want to go first? All right. Oh, okay. I was going to ask one of my questions. Yes?
I'd like to address my young man who had a question about Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Okay.
First, just for the Facebook listeners, I'm going to introduce everyone really quickly. We have Dr. David Erb, amazing chiropractor with lots of amazing stories. And Dr. John Ganino, Ganino Center for Healing, and lots of miracle cases as well. So really amazing information on how to heal naturally. And of course, Kathy Lemon, she is very insightful presentation on homeopathy and homeophylaxis. And then Jen Meehan, Dr. Jen Meehan, of course, from Catalyst MD, also telling us why we really need to step out of the medical system and to find help. And then myself, Brady Vaughn, ex-PHARMA rep, learn too much on the inside now. I run learntherisk.org. So, thank you everyone. That's for our Facebook visitors. All right, so we have hands now. Oh, actually, you wanted to address the question that you had earlier. What was that question?
Yeah, my young man over there had a question about, what do you know about Hashimoto's thyroiditis? So Hashimoto's is an autoimmune type of disease. So again, in our practice, all the autoimmune phenomenon, including young Rachel's case that we heard about earlier, that's all the principal defect, guys, is gluten antibody attacking your thyroid. Okay, so 40% of the people in this room are gluten sensitive. Again, anybody can be gluten sensitive. We have black patients in our practice that have it. We have Hispanic patients that have it. Most likely person has fair skin, blue eyes, a little reddish or blondish tint to their hair, and what I like to call the long, beautiful eyelashes. So that's kind of like the classic Locke case. Rachel herself had those little freckles. She was also carrying that. So you're thinking about now your kids, right? Like what they look like. They're the ones that are going to be most likely to have it. So number one thing with Hashimoto's, because it's autoimmune, is to stop eating gluten. And again, that could sound scary, but it's not. Yeah, your mom's on it. I can see. Thank you. Second thing is you got to detox your metals. Because heavy metals can cause attack on your thyroid as well. So it's a very simple little test in our office. It's a 24-hour urine collection. We figure out what you got going on, and then we prescribe the amount of chelation you need to get rid of your toxins. And then it's just general immune system strengthening at that point. For somebody like him, young man, otherwise healthy, we can put him on the basic supplements, multivitamin, digestive enzymes, probiotics. Everybody's deficient in vitamin D, right? Because it comes from the sun, and we're all inside all the time. And digestive enzymes, that kind of thing, and things should do good. Now, if you're taking notes, Mama, write these down, okay? These are the parameters that you want to be testing, because your doctor may tell you that your thyroid's, quote, normal, and that's not what you're looking for. So there's these things you want to order. Free T3.
Can I get them through you?
Yeah, we do all this stuff, and like I say, we take insurance and all that, but this is for everybody's benefit in the room. These are the things that everybody wants checked on their thyroid. Free T3, reverse T3, TSH, iodine level. 1 out of 3 people in this room is iodine deficient. Iodine is a mineral that your thyroid gland needs to produce thyroid hormone.
Now, do you need iodine when you do the iodine? Do you do the...
Yeah, well, we have a combination in our store. It's called Lugol solution. You've probably heard of it. It's an iodine-iodide combination. So it's generally if your iodine level, and we don't recommend iodine if you're not deficient, but 1 out of 3 people is deficient, right? If you're going to build a house, you're going to need some wood. If you're going to have adequate thyroid hormone production, you're going to need iodine. So you check your iodine, check selenium, copper, zinc. Those are all important things. And your doctor's not going to check them unless you insist. So that's what you got to do. Okay.
I've actually been refused by the doctors.
Of course.
Because I was too persistent.
Yeah, it's, in their eyes, it's all about dogma. Okay, dogma's crap. Dogma's dog, you know what. All right. So those are the things you want to do. And then if you take that number, you get your free T3, multiply it by 100, divide by reverse T3. That ratio should be the number 20 or greater. So if it's lower than that, you're functionally, hypothyroid, and you need to be on. What we would do with that person is add some T3 into the system to compete with the reverse T3 receptor for T3. And the number one reason, guys, that people have a low ratio is because not so much their free T3 is off, it's because their reverse T3 is high. Anybody want to take a guess at the number one cause of high reverse T3? Whitney, you can't answer.
Stress.
Randy?
Oh, he said stress. I'm going to take Jim's answer.
Heavy metals.
Heavy metals.
Heavy metals, number one cause. A lot of causes, inflammation, infection, things like that, but heavy metals is the number one thing. So that's the thyroid story. And I'm
where
sure
are heavy metals?
heavy metals are everywhere. You know, air,
What?
food, water, huh?
Okay.
And in immunizations, vaccines, of course. Vaccines.
Because our skin will absorb just as much.
Yeah.
But how does glutathione, how do you guys view glutathione?
You know, glutathione is the strongest antioxidant on the planet, so you can take it orally, you can take it, we just started a new transdermal, but, you know, we give it IV in the office, 600, 1200, 2000. I've got, you know, Herlinda, who's, you know, stage 4 pancreatic cancer patient that presented with her very supportive daughter. Is actually doing pretty well with a bad disease. And she'd been read up, probably like a lot of y'all. She already came in on coffee enema and high-dose digestive enzymes, which is the foundation of treatment for pancreatic cancer in our office. But she said, wow, you know, IV glutathione, unbelievable how much energy I have. And, you know, you need it, right? Because it's the number one thing that repairs your liver, and your liver's taking the brunt of all this toxic salt. So
I've also seen an improvement in behavior, because she's diagnosed with moderate autism, he's diagnosed with extreme Asperger's.
yeah,
He used to be very violent,
Yeah.
aggressive, and I can definitely tell the difference, but we're doing a sublingual
Yeah.
glutathione.
yeah, that's good. And you know, and he probably has MTHFR, and so the supplements that support that, not only the you know, the homocystex that Ben Lynch pioneered, you know, Ben Lynch or no Logan, chiropractors. And not only homocystex, but also molybdenum and N-acetylcysteine converts into glutathione in the body. So you know, you can take NAC, and he'll get more glutathione that way as well. And then I'm sure I'm gonna hand it to Dr. David on the thyroid and what could be done there, chiropractic.
Well, just like anything else, and I was kind of just briefly answering that question when we talked earlier. It's, you know, most things are multifactorial, and so it's hard to cookie cutter anything. And I always, you know, start with that nerve system first. But you know, I second 100% everything that he said. Like, you could get adjusted and not do a lot of this and then come up way short too. So you know, I would go and make sure there's a nerve supply to that thyroid so that it's functioning 100%. So that just because the body has to come to an adaptive equilibrium, and so it's all about the ability to heal and express, and that is that essence that we, you know, you can't put a quantitative analysis on. It doesn't come out on a high or low marker on a test. It's just, you either have it, it's either functioning great or it's not, and we want it to be 100%. And so that's why we check that curve value in the neck, make sure everything's great. We want to see that good, heavy curve. If it stretches, you know, Dr. Irvin Kaur won a Nobel Prize in 1976, said when you actually start to lose the curve at all, it lengthens the cord and actually stretches it. So the hypothalamic pituitary axis, which includes all of that, begins to fall away, and you start losing hormone function. So that's, you know, I would start there too.
Now, how does scoliosis play? Because I know it's not something that's heard much about today, but as I was a child, it's one of the things that they said I had. But it's kind of like been like brushed underneath the rug. So how does that play an effect in
So our question,
today?
yeah, so for everybody watching at home, so how does scoliosis play a role in that? Well, it depends on who you read, but only about 15% of scoliosis is traumatic anyway. About 85% of scoliosis is caused by changes in the cervical spine. So when we start seeing upper cervical, upper neck areas and loss of curve, the body is adaptive. It's always intelligent, trying to do the right thing at the right moment all the time. So when you start to lose a curve here and it stretches out your spinal cord, your body's going to do this to try and take some pressure off of it. And so scoliosis is basically just an adaptive mechanism. Your body is intelligently performing to try and give you at least the best benefit it can. Because you're the best chiropractor ever. Your body's reducing subluxations constantly, or a version of it. Subluxation, by definition, your body can't take care of it, just needs a little help. But scoliosis basically is the process of just removing interference and correcting those things that are creating the adaptive behavior. Does that make sense? And it gets swept under the rug, like you said, because if you're, around all the medical, whatever, they don't even care about scoliosis until you're between 18 and 26, and they start talking degrees and start talking about surgeries, which nobody here wants. And so we got to get there early. Here's the thing: for me, scoliosis or subluxation or loss of curve, any of those things, for me, it's serious the day that it's 1-2 degrees away from where it should be. Because that's me and that's my experience. For most people, they get told, well, hey, we'll just watch your scoliosis until it's what? Until it's bad enough to do a rod. And that's like saying, hey, don't change your diet, don't exercise, don't detox, don't work on any specifics for your lifestyle. We're just going to watch this tumor metastasize in your system. And when it metastasizes enough into enough areas, then we'll start taking it serious and we'll go from there. But it's because all medicine is waiting till when? Till the end of things, to where now I'm in a sick care model that'll actually be a payer. And so that's not what we're doing. So scoliosis is a pretty bad thing, but most people don't know that scoliosis is non-surgically correctable. I've seen 64-degree scoliosis down to 14 in 2 weeks. But you have to go to the right place, and there's very few of those around. And it's a highly specialized thing. Those people don't see a lot of people a day, and they have a lot of specialized technique.
Well, that's also the root cause for young children as they're going through the growing spurts, correct? That as they grow, their legs hurt.
Yeah. So growth pains.
That I had, I was not sleeping, and my legs hurt all the time.
Yeah, and you can see growth pains with changes in hormone function as well. There's a lot of things that will cause growth pains, but generally it's just aberrant function. There's dysfunction, and it's going to create discomfort, dis-ease, somewhere. So that's basically what it is. I would say though, if you have children that are having growth pains, you definitely want to get their spine and nervous system checked for any irregularities at all before something actually is, apparent enough that you see a high shoulder, someone looking through the top of their eyes. If I ever see a child, and you guys can use this as a screening tool. You ever see a child that looks at you through the top of their eyes, is kind of how they look at you, I can almost with 100% guarantee they have scoliosis, or it's actually small but developing right now. And so it's a better indicator than leaning forward in front of a school nurse, which they can't even find a rib hump until it's 18 degrees anyway. So, good.
I just wanted to touch, you had talked about thyroid, and one of the things that I'm hearing and getting messages a lot about are the thyroid. And I didn't talk about this in my presentation today, but I think it's an important point that I'm really trying to hit home more and more, is that surgery is not a good first option. I am hearing so many people reach out saying, oh, well, the doctor says I need thyroid surgery, I need it to be taken out. Or, another example of that is tonsils, right? Tonsillitis. We need the tonsils out, we need the appendix out. We don't come with extra body parts, okay? We don't need anything taken out. So, yeah, we were not born with extra things that, were mistakes and that need to be taken out for thousands of dollars, okay? These things need to be healed. Everything in our body can be healed. We do not need to take them out. So I'm hearing a lot of my friends that are being diagnosed with chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia and things, hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, and the doctors seem to have a catch-all, oh, it's a thyroid condition, we need to take it out, right? No way, okay? We do not need to lose our body parts, because then what happens? You become a customer for life, because then you have to be on pharmaceutical drugs that recreate what your body was naturally doing. If something is infected in our bodies, we need to heal it, right? It's like the tree imagery that I gave during my presentation. It's like if the tree is sick, you can't just cut off a branch and then, okay, the tree is well. No, the tree is not well. We have to go to the root of the cause, the root of the infection, the root of the imbalance. And right now, I'm seeing a huge rise in the offers for surgery, and surgery seems to be taking more and more of a forefront in the medical system. And so I really want to stress, we don't come with extra body parts. Always look towards natural health and natural healing before you even talk about surgery. And I'm going to give my personal experience with surgery. The only time I've ever been in the hospital in my life was for knee surgery. And I was told by an orthopedic surgeon that because I had an ACL tear and a meniscus tear, that I had to have surgery. I did that 7 years ago now. I have now osteoarthritis in my knee, in that knee. And so after I got surgery, right, because surgery was my last holdout, I guess, in this natural health path of mine, a couple of years ago I started doing research on osteoarthritis after knee surgery. And there's some brilliant research out there that I really wish I had seen before I went under the knife, because when you go under the knife, in terms of knee surgery, you have a 5 times higher risk of developing arthritis within 5 years of surgery on the knee than you do if you just do PT, physical therapy. So I wish someone had told me about that, and I wish that I would have questioned a little bit more. So now when I tell that story, I talk about that and I say, you're going into a car lot, a new car lot, and you're asking them, do I need a new car, okay, right? How many orthopedic surgeons who make their money cutting you open are going to say, no, you know what, just do PT? You know, if they told everybody that, they wouldn't make any money, right? So maybe I can be an example for anyone who is considering surgery to please consider all the other options, because I actually was married at the time. My ex-husband had the same injury that I did. He's 4 years older than I am. He did not have surgery, and he is running half marathons. I was running 10Ks before surgery. I cannot run anymore at all. If I walk a mile, it swells up twice the size of my other knee. Okay, so I have a case study of my ex-husband who did not get the surgery, who did PT. He's running half marathons. He is playing soccer all the time now. He can go 8 hours on a ski slope. I can only go 3. You know, this is what surgery can do to you, but they don't tell you that side of it. So anyway, I know that that was a little bit of a long ramble off the thyroid issue and a little bit of a tangent, but that is one of the things that I'm really focused on right now as well. We don't come with extra body parts. We don't need to cut into our body. That is only going to cause more problems. And I am a shining example of that, unfortunately. So anyway.
Randy, can I speak to that as a surgeon? As a surgeon, I can tell you that what we should learn is who not to do surgery on, and when not to do surgery. One of the greatest lessons of my medical career was taught to me by former astronaut, Senator John Glenn, and I can now talk about this story because rest his soul, he passed away recently. When I was doing an externship at Johns Hopkins, he came in as a patient. This is an amazing story, and it's so powerful, and the lesson is so important. He came in as a patient. He had had cataract surgery. In the surgery, they had injected the anesthetic right into the muscle of the eye. That injection constricted the muscle, and he had a significant double vision. The muscle shortened, and every time he would look in one direction, the eyes would misalign. So he came into one of the most prominent strabismologists or eye surgeons that corrects these kind of problems. And I was the student on the service at that time. And the doctor, the eye surgeon said, you're almost certainly going to have surgery. Let's get you, let's get you prepared. And Senator Glenn said, well, is there anything I can do physical therapy-wise? The importance of doing physical therapy. So we gave him a protocol to do, basically eye muscle exercises to give the body a chance to repair that damage. He was supposed to come back 30 days later. David Guyton was the surgeon, and he said, go ahead and get everything ready. We need it. He's probably not going to be able to repair this thing. But he comes in 30 days later, and sure enough, that deficit was completely gone. Absolutely completely gone. He was supposed to do, several repetitions, several times a day. And so I went in and I did the initial evaluation, and when I reported it to Dr. Guyton, he said, you're an idiot medical student. There's no possibility that he let me go measure it. And sure enough, he measured it. It was completely gone. So he said, well, how, Senator Glenn, what did you do? And he said, well, I did the eye muscle exercises that you told me. I did a few more. We told him to do, 20 or 30, 3 or 4 times a day. And he did 200 or 300, 10 or 15 times a day. You know, he had actually just repaired his body by doing stimulating that muscle to heal itself. And it was such a powerful example. And I have seen people, heal rotator cuff injuries, a number of disorders that were healed simply by putting the stresses and the forces through the body to induce and stimulate the repair mechanisms that are necessary to the healing process to occur. You know, too often we get pain and we stop moving, and the muscles atrophy, and the spine gets worse, the back pain gets worse, and then you're hopeless. The pain is worse, everything is worse. The opioids are making it all worse, and you're just desperate, and you get the back surgery that never works. I can tell you that just rarely does it ever work. You should see one of these people in this line right here before you ever go to a back surgeon. Am I right? You know, and that's the body has this unlimited potential to heal itself, and we just have got to activate it. But that was such a great lesson taught by such a great man. Only a former astronaut could exceed the requirements so spectacularly and get such a spectacular result as a result of it.
But it does prove what our body can do.
Yeah.
We just we allow it to heal, and we help it. We activate that. Again, outside the medical system.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to look outside the medical system, for sure. All right.
I just wanted to ask, I was involved in an automobile wreck. I was involved in an automobile wreck July 5th of 13, and I had serious spinal injuries. My head healed. What the ER doctor told me when I went in that night to get a CT scan, the airbag and the seatbelt didn't deploy, and so I hunched up to hit the dashboard. We went out of Southwestern parking garage. The Toyota accelerated, just went to the floorboard, and those cars were known to do that rapid acceleration. The wire cables that we went through were meant to decapitate us, but the first responders were the actual engineers that built those wires. We waited 40 minutes so they could do their investigation before they got my husband to the ER. And through the grace of God, the one that would have decapitated me went on top of the hood. The one that would have decapitated him went on the side. And we went through one story below. We landed on another car, and half of the car was like an accordion. If anybody had been in that car, they'd have died. I just saw my husband going like this after we had this wreck. So I just looked at him, and then I jumped, didn't even look to see if there was anybody down there. I just jumped and then started praying to God. And so the reason I'm telling you about this is that when I go in, in windshields, they make it. They used to break off in big pieces that would either impale you or disfigure you. So now they put nanopox in the windshield. And what nanopox is systemic arsenic poisoning. It keeps the glass from breaking off in big pieces, but it actually splinters. So it went into my brain, my eyes, my neck, teeth, blood, everything. It went into my husband, who didn't make it with the systemic arsenic poisoning because we were going for a biopsy in his lung, where the doctor did. We're medical sales reps by profession and sales managers, and started off in big pharma and then went into medical device. And I kept telling him, fire that doctor, fire that doctor. He had a chronic cough. If I had seen Dr. Oz in 2012, he said a chronic little cough, a persistent little cough that kills, is an early warning sign of cancer. And so, they treated him for sleep apnea. He didn't have sleep apnea. He had he had a tumor in his lung. We went over all these sleep studies, went over all the equipment. Asthma, I said, you don't have asthma. I was child onset asthma and allergies. I said, I sold Flonase for Glaxo. I said, you don't have that. I sold Flovent for asthma. I said, you don't have that. I had it as a child onset. I sold the medicine. You don't have it, but they said they gave it to him. But anyway, so the bottom line is it metastasized to his brain. And so he then passed away with systemic arsenic poisoning that went into his body. So I'm just getting sicker and sicker and sicker. I had all these spinal injuries. I was stuck from the top of my head to the bottom of my shoulders. My head was stuck. And so it was because I healed in the head forward position. That's what the x-rays show. But in addition to that, what my toxicologist told me is that the arsenic kept my body frozen in that. It was a 2-prong effect. So when I went in, told I had to get the MRI for the spinal injury, they said, have you ever been exposed to metal? And I said, I don't. Have you ever worked at a railroad? No. Have you ever been a welder? No. Well, you can take it. I said, well, I'm not going to take it because that was a horrible feeling. Because on medical background, I knew that glass went into me, and I knew that the particulate matter, when the 2 cars hit at that high impact, I inhaled the antifreeze. I inhaled the pain because it was like dust. I inhaled all that stuff. And so I went to my distal toxicologist, the spinal doctor immediately wrote the script for her because he did her to rule out the heavy metals. And what came out through urine and blood is that in the heavy metal test is that I have systemic arsenic poisoning from the nanopox in the windshield. There's been lawsuits already on this, and even the manufacturer of it. So I've had untreated systemic arsenic poisoning since July 5th of 2013. And I've been treating it alternatively because I can't do traditional medicine. And of course, the lawsuit hasn't settled yet because they made a decision to kill me. They knew immediately when they saw the pictures of that wreck, and when they knew that the windshields had it, the insurance company made a decision to kill me and not settle the case. And through the grace of God and prayer and doing what I've been able to do alternatively, I'm still alive. But I was going to ask how you all would treat that.
So I think the question is, how would you treat systemic arsenic poisoning?
It's in every tissue of my body.
Yeah, so just a comment before I mentioned that. And, you brought up you said MRI there at the end, but you also mentioned CAT scan early in the game. So I just want to throw this out to everybody.
CT scan.
Yeah, CT scan and CAT scan is the same thing. Time Magazine, June 25th, 2012, published an article, and they cite the Journal of the American Medical Association, Lancet, which is a British medical journal, and American College of Radiology. They cite that as their references. The damage to your body from one CAT scan is equivalent to smoking a pack of cigarettes a day for 19 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The airport scanner? And one CT is equivalent to going through that thing 70,000 times. So don't go through a CT. Insist on MRI without contrast, right? Half of my day is spent chelating people's gadolinium from contrast dye from MRI. So thallium is the contrast agent for CT, and we see a lot of that too. So how we would approach your arsenic is, the principal way is chelation IV. We get your height and weight and your BUN creatinine, it's your kidney function. We throw it in a computer and it spits out exactly the amount of chelation that helps you and doesn't hurt you. So that's number one. And then we would put you through all the rest of the stuff because it's everywhere, right? So for your skin, to detox your skin, you have to sweat. Right? Dr. Mercola says you need to sweat 1 to 3 times a week. So if you're not sweating and exercise, which a lot of our cancer patients, they can't do it. So we put them in a far infrared sauna, and it detoxes their skin, their muscle, their deep tissue, and their fat. So that's how you detox those organs. Coffee enema, we already talked about detoxing the liver earlier. My young man gave us the formula on gallbladder flush, right, which is about a half of a squeezed lemon and 2 tablespoons of olive oil on an empty stomach every day. Keep your gallbladder flushed out. And you got to do all the stuff, right? Your kidneys, your brain, and your blood are detoxed through IV chelation and other IVs that we do, like glutathione, somebody mentioned earlier. So you got to do all that stuff, ozone, blah, blah, blah. So we put you through all of that detoxification for arsenic. And let Dr. David add what he wants to add.
Yeah, follow that.
It's replicating. The nanopox is actually replicating in the body.
Yeah, so yeah, if your next thing is, I'm not best detoxer because I have MTHFR, then you need to upregulate the function of that enzyme. So you need to take all the stuff, right? You need to take...
Can you stop the replication, is what you're saying?
Well, it's all you got. You got prayer. I mean, what else are you going to do, right? You're going to come and see us and get coached up on detoxing all the organs. You're going to see him and get your spinal alignment perfect so that the nervous information to all those areas that need to be detoxed, including your lymphatic system. That's a tremendous utility that he hasn't even brought into the game yet, guys. That's huge, right? Not only the nervous system, but the nervous system controls your lymphatics. And if you don't have him on your team, you're not getting maximal detox. You can exercise and you can get massage, and those things are beneficial for lymphatic detox. But chiropractic is excellent in that realm as well. So it's huge. So it has to be in.
Second. He ran by something that he said so many things. I want to make sure I kind of pause on that because it's something I think is really important for what you said in your situation. Is that infrared sauna is so key. Like one thing we see with cancer patients across the board is that they don't sweat. Like your detox pathway is shut down. And the only way out of this thing is get your detox pathways supported and working again and through everything you just said. And then again, the reason it's a clinical thing and it's called practice is because no one's the same. And so you might go see him and he sets out on this course, goes, we got to change that. This is not working so good. We got to use this chelator instead of this one or whatever. And so but he said so many things. I've seen some crazy stuff with infrared sauna. Just to start things moving, and I think I want to second that again. Again, nerve system, huge. I mean, at this panel, I'm going to sound like the broken record. Hand me the mic again. Guess what I want to say?
Nervous system.
Nervous system. There you go.
I'd like to say one.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just really quickly, when you have a complex situation like that, I think that there's no one solution, right? I mean, we're always, we've been brainwashed by the farm industry. There's a magic pill for everything, right? No, it's going to take trial and error, and what works for one person is not going to necessarily work for someone else. And so it's always kind of taking the unique situation and the unique body type and genetics and trying and seeing what happens. And it's always going to be multifaceted. There is rarely an issue that is only going to be solved by detox, but not chiropractic and not homeopathy. Or only chiropractic and not detox and not regulating your supplements and detoxing your environment. There's always a lot of spokes to the wheel. So that's why I'm so excited to be on such a brilliant panel. I feel like I'm the broken record. I'll be like, oh, this is the expert over here. But there are so many spokes to the wheel and everybody's unique. But I like to think of that as that's kind of a challenge. That's interesting because your body is a puzzle and you're finding out what works for you and putting all the pieces together with the right people. So don't give up. That's another thing is I know, I get a lot of messages doing what I do and a lot of people that say, well, this didn't work for me. CBD oil didn't work. Well, maybe some people are going to need the THC in that CBD oil as well. This didn't work for me. Oh, infrared, and I'm like, well, how long did you try it? And it's always going to be a different puzzle for every single person. And so I'm really sad when I see messages that, oh, well, I stopped detoxing because it didn't work. Well, then that wasn't the right one for you. That doesn't mean you need to stop detoxing, right? Just because I don't like onions doesn't mean I stop eating, right? Onions don't work for me. I don't stop eating. We still have to do that process. And not give up on it and just kind of switch it up because we're all different and figure out the pieces of your puzzle that work. So
I just want to say, do you believe you can heal?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd be dead if I didn't.
Healing begins with the belief in the possibility. Make sure that you don't spend a lot of time, focusing on the negative. I heard you talk about the replication of that nanoparticle. That's an issue. But you have to focus, and one of the things I love about this group that I found so inspiring is everybody talked about hope. And they give you hope because a lot of the things that you've heard in the broken healthcare system that we have, it's all about, this is all I got for you. I'm sorry. You got to, eat more, eat less, exercise more. How many times have you heard that kind of stuff? But these guys give you hope. I mean, stimulate those detoxification pathways. Get in the infrared sauna. Do some exercise. Try this, try that. They give you hope. And there's so much healing in that. Make sure you focus and do all of this stuff. And even if it doesn't work, do it some more and keep asking them questions and look for people like this because This is when you take control of your health and you stop listening to the people that say, that's all there is, that's all I got. And that's when you start really healing. So I love this is all about hope.
If I can just, I'll just take a homeopathic word in here as well. Homeopathy, your body does not want to see you, obviously, but like
Jim.
Thank you. like Jim has said, your body wants to be well, and it starts with hope. You know, if someone who gets arsenic poisoning, you know, oh, how can I survive this? No. You want to, and you just told us right now, you want to survive, and so that speaks miles for what's probably going to happen for you. You want it to happen. And so homeopathy, looking at this, as I told you when you asked me earlier about this, we need to know more about the whole case, but the fact is arsenic is a poison. Okay, there's a very effective homeopathic remedy made from arsenic that can help in remarkable things. This may be one that's helpful for you, but at the same time we have to look at the whole you, take into counsel all that you've heard thus far, but what homeopathy can offer you as well at this point, I can tell you right now, is because of your strong hope and your strong desire to be well, homeopathy can help your body work with that and get that arsenic out of your system. And it can happen. I've seen miracles.
Kathy just gave you some more hope.
And I've literally seen miracles happen with homeopathy, and it begins with a person's attitude right there. So then
I'm so grateful. I'm just letting everybody in this room know if anyone's ever involved in an automobile wreck, one of the very first things you need to do is to get a heavy metal test done, because I would have known from the onset immediately what had happened to me. And you need an industrial toxicologist to be able to diagnose the chemicals in it that will tell you the manufacturing exactly what it is. And when I say Recipade, I pick it out of my body every day, throughout all my body. It comes out everywhere. But I know God's going to heal me. She got me.
Well, I wish you the best, and I think you've got some great information here. One thing for people on Facebook that you might not have heard, if you're ever in a car accident, get a heavy metal test and have a toxicology panel done. So, great advice, and I see hope, and I see a positive future for you. Okay, question here.
So have any of you guys been successful in treating a patient with severe epilepsy? This is a child, and I know we're talking about hope, and this child is cognitively impaired because of her seizure, so I don't even know if she understands the concept of hope, but she's been to Johns Hopkins. They told her no, too much gray matter on her brain, so they can't help her. She's trying homeopathy. She's done the ketogenic diet, is it where you have all the fats?
Right.
Yeah.
Ketogenic.
CBD, it's been helpful, and it has cut her meds, but she's like a barrage of medicine. And so this child is having grand mal seizures every day. I mean, they know her at Children's Hospital Dallas, because she's in there probably a couple times a month sometimes. It gets better, it goes up and down. She's done chiropractic care. So is there anything else we can offer?
You know, I'm just going to start off that, and it was basically what I said a little bit earlier. I've seen and heard miracle stories with CBD, but there are a lot of different formulations. There are a lot of different qualities, and again, just because you try, one brand was tried or one formulation doesn't mean to not, mix it up a little bit and see what really works for her. Because I have an interview on our website of a guy in Modesto, and his son had a grand mal seizure after vaccines in the doctor's office, and he has continued to have grand mal seizures. And in fact, it started his father's quest for information, and he has a CBD oil line now with his son's name on it, and he doesn't have grand mal seizures anymore, but it was, he had to try different formulations and find out which one worked for him. So there are a lot of different things, and I'm sure they're going to talk a lot about that as well, but just because one thing has been tried, it's not a reason to keep trying it and try mixing it up again and different formulations. So
So, is the child on a feeding tube?
No, she's
Okay.
not.
All right. How old?
12.
Oh, 12. I thought we
Yeah,
were
she's
thinking
been
like
having seizures since she was 3.
Okay.
And the CBD has been good, but she still, like, has cut her meds, her pharma meds in half.
Yeah.
But if she gets off the pharma meds, which is, of course, is what they want to do, it just, she can't.
So, two things. If you look at Peter Bregan's book, Psychiatric Drug Withdrawal, write that down, everybody. That's a good one.
What is it, Peter?
Peter Bregan's, Breggins, Peter Bregan's, Psychiatric Drug Withdrawal. He actually goes through seizure medication, and the problem with seizure medication as a solution, and listen, I mean, you can die with a seizure. That's just straight up. And so we're willing to do anything as parents, including some pretty toxic alternatives. The problem with trying to come off of a seizure medication, what's one of the #1 side effects of withdrawal from seizure medication? Seizure. We all know that. And so that's why oftentimes, even if you're into a really good path that's working, it's actually decreasing. Again, results may not seem like good results as you start to come off even a little bit of those meds, and it's a rough road. Now, I can say this, just about every single week, I have somebody come to my office with seizures who don't have them anymore. We have a lady driving 2.5 hours one way. She's having grand mal seizures every day on 6 meds. She hasn't had this is going for 3 or 4 years. She hasn't had a seizure in 18 months or something. And so, I mean, it's definitely doable, but it's not that's a rough road. And I will say, let me say this specifically, I don't think anybody here would profess that we treat seizures. I don't treat epilepsy, and I'll be the first to tell you. But, you want to just do whatever you can to remove interference to that. And I'm going to go back to, literally, I'm the guy you come see when nothing else has worked. And I'm also the guy that you come see when, you tried all the other chiropractors. And I love the chiropractic profession, and I love all chiropractors. But there's a difference, and just like a different CBD oil and whatever, you want to get the one that's working for you. And so really, I would suggest going back to the drawing board on the chiropractic component, getting specific. If she's 12, I mean, unless she's in an active seizure, there shouldn't be any reason you can't get a very specific diagnostic nervous system x-ray of that child to tell you what needs to be done in a direction that needs to be taking place. And so I would start back there first with some very, very specific questions. Physical exams to tell you exactly what x-ray that you would need, not just take a battery x-rays. And then start there and then move forward. And the thing is, even 12-year-olds who are just, really, harder patients to take care of because of cognitive issues and those things, still do amazing. Like I've got one family, he was sensory integration issues. So when he first came in, he was really, really bad off, nonverbal, and literally he had kind of a mechanism where he would just bang his own head on anything just to kind of let himself, it would just relax him. And so completely normal. This kid is now 13 years later, going to regular school. It's not even a special school, no meds, doing great, but just slowly doing the right thing over and over and over. And again, not tiring and doing good. Not if you're a parent or you're a loved one or you're, some kind of somebody that's in the mix or a family member of some kind. Just keep moving forward. And again, just like she said, just keep asking the right questions. And so go ahead.
At your presentation on Monday night, will you touch on this at all? I mean, do you talk about?
Yeah, so Monday night, we have a presentation at the office. We do dinner for free. It's on the internet now, so we're going to have like 400 people show up for free dinner. But there's that. So, but it's something that we do so that we get the message out there, just like this, okay? But this particular one is called Medicine Cabinet Makeover, and I'm going to go over a lot of specificity on these things. But this one's driven more for, you asked the question, it's more for natural alternatives. So everything from protocols for pink eye to gastric upset to ant bites to whatever. And so just natural alternatives so that you can literally just get rid of your stuff in your medicine cabinet completely. And most of the stuff you have already at home. In fact, this group probably has everything from apple cider vinegar to essential oils, and you have everything that you need. In fact, I guarantee that everybody here has a medicine cabinet that looks a whole lot different than the person people outside in that part of the hotel. And so, but again, for us, we're on the front lines, as a lot of you guys are, front lines of people who have no clue, absolutely zero clue. So This is for those people that you know who are probably going to be combative just to even change their toothpaste. And so this is going to be really one of those. But it's also a good intro into specificity and nervous system correction rather than just general chiropractic application. And so I'll show a lot of different x-ray examples. I'll have a lot of testimonials. And again, over and over and over, develop hope in people who are searching, people who are suffering. So that's Monday. But can I just go back to that kid for a second?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no testimony without a test. And the season of the test has been there. And I don't know if this is hitting and landing with you anywhere, but there's a reason you're sitting there. And I truly believe that the season that's leaving all the hardship and all the rest is right there somewhere. You just got to be able to step into it. And that's just asking the right questions. Just keep moving forward and hope. I'd love if any of us could be a supportive role in that. That'd be awesome.
The reason I'd asked about your presentation is I was going to see if I get the parent to come to that. If you would
Please do.
address that, I mean, I know you're not going to address that specifically. But
No, I
would
will
you-
afterwards. I have people that show up for phase 4 cancer and they're there for a thyroid talk.
Okay.
You know, so and they're for prostate cancer. So
And the parents are receptive, of course. I mean,
oh yeah,
at
they're
this
looking for
point,
anything.
Yeah.
So so just tell them. And if you would, just so we have enough food for everybody, just have them call the office and register them, and they can bring as many meals they want.
Yeah, well, just a couple comments. And number one, certainly possible that heavy metals could be complicating, so I would test for that. Remember what a seizure is, which is ungoverned electrical activity spreading across the surface of the brain. So anything that might stimulate adrenaline could potentially cause a seizure. Lynn and I attended a young lady, an 11-year-old girl in Kansas some years ago when she was just in one of those video arcades where the lights were flashing really fast and there's a lot of music. And she had a seizure. So anything that can trigger adrenaline. And so remember, the number one thing that we believe that triggers sugar, insulin, adrenaline roller coasters is candida overgrowth in the body. And it's out there, right? Antibiotics, steroids, birth control pills, pregnancy, living or flying at altitude, eating sugar. So that's just a couple things I wanted to say. I wanted to let Dr. David handle that for the most part because he's the guy with the miracle cases. We don't really have, I mean, he's got them every week. I don't know of a seizure in our office at all. I do know that what I'm talking about could potentially complicate the situation. Secondly, Dr. Jim was talking about hope a minute ago. Not only, guys, are we giving you hope, I want you to get that we're also giving you evidence.
Yes.
Okay, now listen. Friendly has had metastatic prostate cancer for 11 years, and Warren has had it for 13 years. And both of these guys are doing great. Maureen was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and colon cancer when she was 70. By the time she reached our office, she'd had stage 4 colon and stage 4 pancreatic cancer at age 72. Many of our patients combine traditional therapies like chemotherapy and radiation with what we do, which is mostly nutritive and restorative type. Maureen is about as big around, she's about half the size of Brandon, okay? She's maybe like 5'2", weighs about 92 pounds. You cannot chemotherapy and radiate that patient. You will snap them in half like a matchstick. Her only option was all natural. 3.5 years later, the patient doing perfectly fine. Why? Because injured tissues heal with nutrients, not drugs. That's why. So yes, there's hope, but I also want you to get that we have a number of people in the practice at this moment with stage 4 disease that are functioning quite well. And Linda's thought, which I think is fantastic, is she believes, and she's never been wrong in her 23 years of doing integrated medicine, she believes that there will be a day when you'll see a shift in the paradigm to where people choose to live with cancer. Let me give you guys an example. This is our same Dr. Rowan. Remember the guy that took IV ozone over to treat the Ebola patient? He has a patient who presents to him with metastatic colon cancer 6 years ago, guys. Quote, on death's door. I think, patient's hemoglobin was like 6. They did a scan that shows that 60% of this guy's liver is occupied with metastatic colon cancer. Puts the patient on the diet, which is basically modified ketogenic diet, and does intravenous ozone twice a week. 6 years later, the patient has 4 times as much energy as he had when he first presented 6 years ago,
And here's an important point, y'all. Scan of his liver, the cancer in his liver has shrunk down to only only occupying 40% of the volume of his liver compared to 60% 6 years ago. Point, patient still has cancer, guys. Patient still has cancer. But what? He's on the planet, right? And he's living with cancer. As Dr. David would say, can I get an amen?
Amen.
I know one of these things, with cancer, I think, I want to go back to the girl, give them a chance to comment on that too, but I did want to talk just quickly about the cancer issue. Cancer is an infection, right? So in my talk, we talk about it. It's a chemical imbalance. You have too many synthetic toxins in your body. We heal it through detox, through healing, through nutrients. We help our body heal from cancer. It doesn't mean it's going to go away overnight, right? There's no magic pill. And it's going to take hard work. And you're going to have to detox your life, your body, and you're going to have to up your nutrients, and you're going to have to go through alternative healing modules. The Gerson therapy has amazing results, if anyone wants to Google that. But it's not a death sentence. And it is something that heals, but it's not going to be overnight, right? And chemotherapy, let's see, if your body is telling you, I'm infected, I have too many toxins in my body, do you think it's a good idea to just inject and put more toxins into it? I mean, how do you think that's going to work out in the end? I mean, for a few people who are strong enough to handle it, that might work. All right, you kill everything in the body, you might kill the cancer too, and not the person. In a few people who are strong enough to handle it. Most people are not going to be strong enough to handle that. So why not look at cancer as, all right, there is a huge infection in my body that I need to heal, and I'm going to start on this process. And I'm not going to be afraid of it. It's not a death sentence. It doesn't have to be a death sentence. So anyway, I could speak on cancer for hours, but I want to get back to the girl who had the grand mal seizures, because I know they wanted to, Jim and Kathy had comments on that. But I do want to hit that home. Cancer is something that we can heal from within, and with the right protocols. We don't have to further toxify our body. That's not going to work out well in the end for most people.
Ladies first.
Okay. All right, as far as epilepsy, homeopathy can work. Homeopathy does work. I haven't personally worked with someone with epilepsy, but let me share this with you, that one of the most powerful things, and I didn't have a chance to address this when I spoke earlier, one of the most powerful things that I have found as a homeopath is for my clients, those who come to see me, to present a timeline. Excuse me. We shared that she's 12 years old, but she started having these grand mal seizures when she was just 3. One of the very, very, very effective things that homeopathy can do is indeed treat vaccine damage. And I look at the timeline. I would be very interested to know her timeline, because it seems almost pretty clear that is probably likely when it started with the vaccine.
Oh yeah, that's the parents know that.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. And along with this, again, I am not a medical doctor, so I'm never going to tell any of my patients to stop taking any medication. That's between them and their prescribing doctor. What I do is I work with my clients who come to see me, work to rebuild them, work to build them up, to find out. I have studied extensively vaccine damage, the homeopathic treatment of vaccine damage, and that's going to be part of our conference in Holland. And if I can insert this too, all the books that I have for sale out there, every dime is going to support the conference in homeoprophylaxis. So just so that you will know that. Thank you. But in reference to this, homeopathy will be able to help as long as we can know the whole timeline, know about this young girl and what all physiologically going on with this. So
She is working with the homeopath in India. So
okay, a lot of good homeopathy.
Yeah, so she's talking to the mom is talking to this homeopath regularly.
Okay, that's good. That's very, very good.
I just wanted to touch on that because seizures, that may be the symptom of a much bigger imbalance in a cause, right? So the cause and the trigger might have been vaccines. So the damage that might be there is the heavy metals, right? And they might be doing that. And the seizures are the symptom, right? They're not necessarily the issue, they're the symptom. So again, we need to treat from the core, and we need to treat the cause. So I really think that you should get a heavy metal panel, like Dr. Ganino said, and really kind of try to address that as the main cause, and look at the seizures as the symptom.
Right. I just wanted to say, my husband had seizures for 30 years, and they never could find, my late husband never could find where the root cause was. And so in November, not this year, but a few years back, we just started praying and asking God to show us the root of where it was. And so his doctors told him, we're going to just start fresh, like I've never seen you. So he had, I think an MRI, whatever, in January. And a couple of days later, she calls and she says, oh, we found a tumor. And we were just so excited. We didn't have fear. We found the answer. We could work with something. And so she said, I'm going to send you over to Dr. Mickey at Southwestern to see him. And so he examined Jack, and he took him through, not just him, but he sent him to all these doctors at Southwestern to do all these different kind of tests, psychological, everything, tests before he had this surgery. So when he got in, after the surgery, he found abnormal blood vessels in the right temporal lobe that was leaking blood. And he tried to do any and everything, but every time he could go outside or whatever, anything he tried to do, it would stimulate a seizure. He would eat something. But the leaking of the blood from the blood vessel went and caused him to have a seizure. And so Dr. Mickey, of course, whatever he did, I don't know what he did, but in the brain. But we had the answer. And I'm a firm believer. I know all of you are. I only know that man right there, this woman right here, as my doctor. But you all have given such great hope with what I have heard, and I know you believe in prayer. But that's the beginning. Every time I go to see Dr. Ganino, he always tells me, okay, who's the great physician? He's always putting God as the answer. He's going to give us the answer. And that is so important, at my age, learning that. You just ask God, where's the source? Once we get an answer, like we got an answer, like this is the problem, like you got the problem, I just met her, but you know what the deal is. I mean, what's affecting you, what you've been attacked with. And just ask God, who do I need to see? What do I need to do about this? Because he's got answers, and we're part of that answer as we go to wherever we're going to give other people hope. And so with that, I just want to share that.
So there's a couple of really great, that deserves a round of applause. How many times does God send you the solution and you don't listen? Right? I mean, how many times have you told the patients to do the exercise that might heal that? No, that's too hard. Let's keep doing the medicines, the drugs, right? So he sent you the boat. You were waiting for the helicopter. But there was a couple of, coming back to your question about the 12-year-old seizures. There's some really important principles here. One of them is one of the most likely causes is increased fragility in lowering of the seizure threshold, and Dr. David nailed it from the anti-seizure medications. Dr. Bregan's work is so important, whether it's antidepressants or ADD medications or seizure medications. The medications used chronically will eventually induce the condition that they're purporting to treat. And so if you ever are going to change that scenario, you have to do it very, very slowly. I call it glacial tapering. You have to very slowly, over months, if not, a year, taper those medications in such, microscopic amounts each month or each week.
So titrate it down.
Titrate it down, but slowly. Because too often, what happens is your doctor will do it over a month or weeks or something like that, And the seizure threshold and the balance that the body has tried to reattain in opposition of this very powerful medication that's trying to change the neurotransmitter in the synaptic clefts is just, the body is going to resist that, and it's going to very slowly. This is a DNA-mediated process. You've got to build receptors, new receptors that have been downregulated because of the effect of this very powerful anti-seizure medication. And that doesn't happen in a few months. That takes time, and so you might have to look at a 6 or 9 month glacial tapering to even begin the body begin the body's ability to kind of reattain a normal balance again and overcome that very powerful pharmaceutical effect. While you're doing that, while you're glacially tapering off those seizure medications, you have to be doing all the other things that are building the body. So you got to really focus on the diet. You talked about the ketogenic diet. Now, that's one of the most healing diets on the face of the planet, in my opinion. We're showing now that it can, in rat models, it can heal diabetic kidney disease. It was first identified in its epilepsy effects, very beneficial effects. But the hardest thing about the ketogenic diet is doing the diet. I'm a 52-year-old man, and that's a hard diet to do. I can't imagine what that would be like in a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old.
Yeah, she was a lot younger then too. I mean,
right. Was it true ketogenic? I mean like week after week after week?
As far as I know, as far as I know, but
yeah.
I mean, they really are trying. I mean,
yeah.
they've been able to get the meds, to cut the meds in half, but it's just,
yeah. It's just, make sure that wasn't, and so it's somebody you're treating, but make sure that wasn't the boat that got turned away, right? Because that ketogenic diet could be the solution, or it could be a part of the solution, but it's a hard solution. It's a hard solution to stick with. I see this a lot in parents that are trying to treat their kids with autism or any number of diseases. You want to change their diet, but man, the food is engineered to be addictive. They want those McDonald's fries. They want that energy drink and the sugary treats because those are stimulating the release of dopamine. And so as a parent, it's really hard to enforce that. So, if you're going to change a diet in your child's life, you got to change your diet. And it's got to be the only option in the home. There are no other options, and the parents are going to model that behavior. Don't try to remove gluten from your child's diet if you're not doing it in your own. Don't even let that stuff in the house. The Fruity Pebbles doesn't come in the house. The house is stocked with good stuff, and day after day, you model that behavior, you reinforce it, you turn away anything that doesn't conform with this important diet, and day after day, week after week, month after month, you're building health. You're tapering away those bad medications, and you're continually looking for new solutions. But sometimes you got to get in that boat, and you got to stay in the boat all the way to God's purpose. And if you don't do that, sometimes we mess up the process. So I think there's some really important, and here's the thing about CBD or any, I don't care what it is. If you put it in your body chronically, it's not something your body naturally produces, there's a good chance that you're going to be inducing some of this imbalance, right? So it might work, and it might work for a while, but it won't work forever, because you weren't born with a CBD deficiency. You weren't born with an anti-seizure medication deficiency. There's something else that is a root cause, and you got to enable that and empower that, and make sure all of the biochemical pathways to the creation of those, what your body is producing is being developed, but don't put an artificial. CBD is just another. It's just not a pharmaceutical, but it's not a miracle hope for anybody. It's really not, unless your plan is just to be on it forever at ever increasing doses. And what does that sound like? It sounds like every other pharmaceutical out there.
Right, Jeanette.
What's so frustrating too is because with allopathic medicine, they just tell them, it's genetic. How can it be genetic and we never had epilepsy?
Yeah, but so that's just a trash can explanation. I'm so tired of that. We change our genes. The principle of epigenetics is we have the ability to change our genes. You got to just reactivate them with the right stuff and quit turning off the good ones with the bad stuff. So there's hope. Genes are, they load the gun, but they don't pull the trigger. It's our environment that pulls the trigger.
And one thing I just want to mention really quickly is the family needs to be detoxing her life in all different ways, right? So her cup is completely full of toxins. So we're talking body care products. They're getting Tefal, pans out of there. No cleaning products with chemicals in it. They need to clean up her environment in a holistic type of way as well. Food, as well as everything that goes on around her and in her. They need to get rid of the Wi-Fi in their house. Yeah. They need to take other steps besides just focusing on that. They need to take it as a whole picture and detox in a whole body and a whole environment type of way as well. Because you never know what could be triggering her now that her cup is that full.
Yeah.
So, I also, Dr. Erg has to leave right now, so I just wanted to give a round of applause for him and thank him for coming to the meeting. And I know a few of us can probably stick around a little bit longer for specific questions, but we need to keep the questions to a minimum at this point, 30 seconds or shorter.
Okay, I was 23 years old when I was pregnant with my 4-year-old. My mother fell to the pharmaceutical company. It started out with one pill for anxiety, and the day she died, she was on 13 medications. I guess my question would be, my father is following in the same footsteps, and I can't stop it. And he knows it. He knows that he's dying. He's 450 pounds, and everything that we try is not helping. He had 3 back surgeries. He's in a lot of pain. Every exercise we try to do, every diet, every natural healing is hard, because when you tell a 450-pound man on several medications that he can't take his medicines, that's the only time he can function and move without pain is on those pain medications. Where do you start?
Run quickly up some real answers.
Okay, so first things first. As you build a house, many times you'll see there's scaffolding around the house, right? And I'm going to make this pyramid because I'm going to come back to that pyramid shape. But and I'm Italian, so we talk with our hands. It's just what we do. So anyway, there's scaffolding around the house, and so your dad has, let's say your mom died on 13 meds, and so let's say your dad's on 10 meds. He's got 10 pieces of scaffolding going on right now. As we're constructing that house, we're going to need to keep some scaffold up for a while, because if we pull it out, his house is going to crumble. But as we begin to build the house, and the stronger we get it, the more scaffolding we can take down. I gave our talk earlier, and I'm like, I can't believe I didn't tell Kyle's story. I'm like, I didn't tell Kyle's miracle. I'm like, why didn't you share that with them? Well, now I know why I didn't share it with you guys, because I was supposed to share it with you right now. So this is a 32-year-old female. Her name is Kyle, and she presents as a new patient in April of 2012. Dr. G, my hair's falling out, I have muscle pain, and I have joint pain. 5'2", 298. Okay? So we put her in the program, oil change, tire rotation, radiator flush, and a new air filter. Listen, guys, everything I asked her to do, she did. Go to class, put coffee up her butt, take digestive enzymes with meals, take her Alka-Salts at bedtime. Every single thing I asked her to do, she did. And she came back in 5 weeks, and she weighed 242 pounds. Okay, so listen. Outside of this room that we're sitting in, out on the street, a 56-pound weight loss in 5 weeks is not possible, right? inside this building, Matthew 19:26, Luke 1:37, Mark 10:27. Through God, all things are possible, right? You have to set the context for the Holy Spirit to move. It cannot move through sludge. Your dad is a ton of sludge, okay? I think we can fix it. Why? Because I have evidence that we've done it in the past. So it's not just hope. Hope is great, but evidence matters, right? Why did I hand the microphone to Dr. David when we were talking about seizures? I turned to him, I said, "You got any seizure miracles?" He goes, "About one a week." I go, "You're the guy," all right? So we're the guy on that deal, all right? I mean, we can get that done. He's got to be focused. He's got to be laser focused, and he's got to want to stay on the planet, right? Like Dr. Jim was saying, do you want to get well, right? That's an important thing. He's got to want it because he's going to have to work hard, right? We're going to start with blood, liver, bowel, and lymphatics. That's the floor that we're going to pour. Okay, that's got to be a level. Then we'll put up the interior walls. That's called thyroid, adrenals, pancreas. Then we'll sheetrock it. That's called sex hormones, and limbic hormones are the window dressing and the window curtains. Okay, once we get that whole thing built, then we can start taking the scaffolding down, and you can stand up good.
And I think one of the things that you said right then was, I think you probably should keep first and foremost in mind, where do I start? It's going to begin with you. You can't change your father. As much as you love your father, you can't change him. So you've got to remain positive for him, for your daughter. You've got to let him know that there are ways to help him get through this back pain, to help him lose the weight that he needs to lose. But it's going to start with you being positive, with you keeping focused on what you know you can control.
Wow. So your father's story is a very common story. One of the things you need to understand is that one of the greatest lies in medicine today is that pain pills will solve pain. What we now know, and what his pain management doctor undoubtedly is going to a pain management doctor that's given him opioids at high levels, short or instant release, long acting. He's also on a benzodiazepine, which is one of the most common causes in combination with opioids of overdose and death in this country. He's also probably on a muscle relaxer. And it's this toxic soup of medications that have been progressively eroding his health. The overstimulation of the dopamine system, your father is deeply addicted to the medications, deeply dependent to the medications. That dependency is a very dangerous place to be. It's created by a lot of things, but here's the great lie that is, in the last 6 years, has really become exposed. It's an adverse event of opioids called opioid-induced gliopathy. Opioid pain pills actually bind to receptors in the central nervous system, to these glial cells that comprise 70% of the cells in the central nervous system. Pain pills, opioids, bind to those receptors in the glial system, and they release cytokines, and it creates this inflammatory effect in your central nervous system that makes everything worse. It makes the pain worse. In fact, in extreme cases, this gliopathy can manifest as such an abnormal response to normal stimulation that just stroking the inside of the arm feels like burning, horrible pain. Yeah, exactly. So this is the reality is that he's got to get off the pain pills. The pain pills are making everything worse. They're driving this inflammatory effect in the central nervous system to a point where he can't even think because of the inflammatory storm that's going on in his brain, unless the pain pills are masking that to such an extent that nothing else works in the body. The many side effects of opioids, the detrimental side effects of opioids are so detrimental that they're destroying everything. This testosterone is going to be way in the tank, way below normal. You can't heal and repair from anything. So anyway, he's got to get off the opioids, but it's a slow process. And the problem with a broken healthcare system like we have, and there is no more broken, dark area of medicine than pain management, in this country. Those pain management doctors are using chemical dependency as a business model.
That's right.
They are using opioid pills to keep your dad coming in every month. It's one of the most lucrative businesses in medicine today. And the people that are getting in and occupying and hanging a shingle and becoming pain management doctors are doctors that can't get a job pretty much every place else. There aren't many solutions for this, because most doctors just don't want to do anything but keep them where they are so they can keep ringing the cash register. There are some partial agonist opioids out there. One of them is called buprenorphine, and it's also in combination with a few other medications. It's called Suboxone. There's some new variants called Bunavail, Butrans, but these are partial agonist stimulators of the opioid receptor. And instead of turning the water faucet full on, they turn it partially on. And they are a substitute that can be used, when used appropriately, to kind of step down progressively. Again, it's like the anti-seizure medications. It's a year-long, maybe more process to get them off of all of those high-level medications. This is an area of my expertise. I have taken a population of about 700 patients, and I've gotten them completely off of opioids using a wellness model, the mindset model that I talked about. You have to build the health. You got to give them movement, get them moving, sleeping better, and you slowly take the medications off. You got to give them hope in this process, that they can actually get there. And testimonials from other patients are a very important part. I've had patients that lost 100 pounds, went back to work, restored relationships, just by building health. But you got to get those medications that are a bigger part of his problem than anything else. There's a thing. All of these drugs of dependency create what's called dopamine deficiency state, and that dopamine is the neurotransmitter of joy, and he's in a joyless state. The dopamine neurons in the brain actually go out. They are damaged. They degenerate. They break down, and they stop producing the neurotransmitter of joy, attention, focus. And in that joyless state, that's one of the reasons patients gain so much weight, is because they start replacing. They'll take anything to stimulate dopamine, and sugar is one of those things. Simple carbohydrates, energy drinks, anything that can just squeeze out a little bit more dopamine from those dying dopamine nuclei in the brain, they're doing it all. And it's just such a spiral downwards, and it's such a hard process to get people out of. The first thing you got to do is you got to find him a doctor that is more interested in his health than he is the doctor's pocketbook, and that's a rare commodity. You've got some docs here. We could probably team up. I'm an expert in the tapering off the medicine. He can help you build the health, and I'll help you, and I'll do it for free, because I'd love to have your father to be another testimonial of how this can work.
He's been on for 17 years now.
Yeah.
And he is working with him. He has weaned himself off. He was taking, back in the day, the methadone wafers. He was taking 6 wafers a day.
Right.
And surprisingly, he eats quite healthy. He listens to a lot of what I say, and he works out when he can, but normally he has to be what I call doped up on his pain meds in order to get on the treadmill. But it got up to where he was walking 6 miles a day on the treadmill every day. But it just seemed like the weight wasn't coming off, and everything I tried, I just...
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons is because the medications are driving the testosterone into nothing. So without testosterone, he won't lose weight. He won't recover from exercise. He won't heal brain cells.
Yeah, it wasn't healing. It was very hard for him to continue working out. He was staying in so much pain. He did it for about 3 months, and he was just getting worse.
Right. Yeah, he's got to it's a grind. He's got to know that this is a battle, and maybe the most important battle that he fights if he wants to live. And he's got to want to live. And he's really got to want to live, and he's got to have a purpose for why he wants to do what he's got to do, because he's going to live for a couple of years on the edge of discomfort, or a little bit more. And he's got to accept the fact that he's going to live in an area of discomfort. He's bought into the lie that we can make you comfortable, but that is a lie. It's a lie. We can sedate you into a state of oblivion, but that's not living. And so he's got to accept the fact that I'm going to have to accept some pain. I'm going to live on a very uncomfortable place. I'm going to have to do a lot of work, and I'm going to have to do work when it hurts. And a lot of people just they're not willing to do that kind of work. But
he's doing that. He's slowly weaned himself off of probably at least half of his medication on his own.
Yeah,
against his doctor's wishes.
Yeah, isn't that against his doctor's wishes?
Yeah, he's
It just sickens me. Yeah.
Trying to not take the medicine until he's to the point where he literally has to take the pain meds. So he's wanting to do
if that pain doctor is prescribing opioids and benzos at the same time, report them. Report them to the medical board, report them to the DEA, because what you have is you have a doctor that has probably killed multiple patients already, and if they haven't, they will.
My mother's doctor, and she died from that.
Right, exactly. Well, then we got to stop the insanity, right? And we need to take more of these doctors out. In Oklahoma, this is a fight that I fight. 6 of the last 7 pain management pill mill docs, I participated in removing them from the practice because they were doing things that were killing patients. And it just takes some patients reporting the problem. Your mother's death is a problem that needs to be brought to the awareness of the medical board, because there's probably 1 or 2 or 3 or more files already on file with the medical board.
All of her files have disappeared since I made my
Yeah, and that's not atypical. So this is a real problem in medicine. It's one of the darkest areas of medicine, and I will be praying for you and your family, because to me it's evil. This is a part of that supernatural world and the warfare that's going on, and our best defense is to fight it with prayer.
All right, so we're going to take a couple more questions.
So I have a 2-year-old brother. He just turned 2 back in February, and he has a neurodegenerative disorder, which is genetically diagnosed that when he was 2 months old, if I'm not mistaken. And it's called pyruvate dihydrogenase complex disorder. I heard about what the doc said right now, that maybe testosterone it does help with the brain cells damage. Whenever he gets sick, it's characterized by him losing a skill, like rolling over or grabbing, finger grasping stuff. And so I want to know if genetic disorder that's been assessed as so soon as 2 months can be reversed or help, or any type can help them, if anything can help them become better.
2 months. What happens in 2 months?
Yeah, so my first question is, it's a boy that we're talking about, correct? And he's 2 years old now? Okay, but the thing showed up at 2 months?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, looks like a duck and quacks like a duck. It's probably a duck. I'm assuming he got immunized at age 2 months.
Yes.
DPT. Yeah, DPT vaccine. I think he's vaccine injured. Brandy's our expert on that. I'm going to probably let her, tell you the nuts and bolts of, how you might recoup some of your, damage there. But, I don't know, quickly from my standpoint, he's 2 years old now. I think at some point he needs to be assessed for toxins, and he needs to go through the program. We need to chelate him eventually, and we need to test him for food allergies. He's probably been, I'm guessing he's been sick, so he's been antibiotic or steroided or both.
He's on the ketogenic diet as well.
In his lifetime, in 2 years, has he been antibiotic or steroided since he was born?
Probably, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, so if he had antibiotics or steroids, he has candida or fungal overgrowth in his body. He needs to be fungally detoxed. In my opinion, he needs to be tested for heavy metals and detoxed from metals. You do a Spectrox test to find out what nutrients he's deficient in. And that's pretty much it from my standpoint. Again, that's been shown to help our autistic kids about 40 to 70%. Again, Kathy might be the best person to take that to the next level of improvement for the things that she does. But I would definitely, if you have time to get with Brandy, tell her what your story is, and she can give you some resources, because I think that's a pretty straightforward case of vaccine injury myself.
It's one of those cases I mentioned in my presentation where doctors like to say it's genetic because they don't want to admit accountability. He's probably seen the same doctor that vaccinated him. And yeah, exactly. So that doctor is not going to admit that something he did caused that.
Yeah,
but
get
again,
a second opinion, because that may just be a made-up diagnosis.
You just had a second opinion. My name is Dr. John Ganino. I practice in Heath, Texas. All right.
Yeah, it's a vaccine injury, and one of the things, I'm not sure if that slide made it into this presentation, but autoimmune, rare, genetic diseases are skyrocketing. They are not genetic diseases. Again, genes load the gun, but usually toxins pull the trigger, and vaccines are most often that toxin because they are injected, so that is what is going to fill your cup and spill it over much quicker than just being eating GMOs and being exposed in a way that's not injection. So that is exactly what I was talking about in my presentation, about one of those things that doctors don't want to admit to and won't take responsibility for. And then unfortunately we have thousands and hundreds of thousands of children that aren't being healed the way they need to be healed. He definitely needs to be detoxed, heavy metal panel, definitely from aluminum. There are lots of chelation, different therapies. I can give you some resources as well. Dr. Jim can speak on it, and Dr. Ganino does amazing detox as well. So
yeah, I just want to say that our experience with our autistic kids, every single one of our autistic children, and again, the number is probably between 35 and 45 children. When we metal test them, they have multiple heavy metals. It's not just one thing. They have, little Camille, he's 18 months old, guys, got 13 different toxins. He's only 18 months old. Lights are on. Absolutely nobody is home. He is just total no sense of reality. He just kind of stands in the room and spins. It's just a bad gig. So my point is, girls can absolutely be on the spectrum, but what we see in our practice is the degree of damage is way worse in boys. They're just way more susceptible. I don't know, maybe Dr. Jim, you know why that is. I think I heard maybe that it's testosterone that drives it in worse, or these guys. And then I do want Kathy to speak, because I think she may have some resources to take what we do and bump it up to the next level if you have any experience with autistic kids.
Well, my son had autism, and so that's what began my search again into the vaccine realm and vaccine damage and everything. So there are some when it comes to vaccine damage, and we can speak the rest of the night about this too, when it comes to vaccine damage, that is something that has arisen, especially since vaccines were introduced, of course, but especially so since they removed the liability in 1986 from the vaccine makers, and the numbers of vaccines have increased so dramatically. There are some very, very consistent symptoms that happen with particular vaccines and the damages that they cause. And so that's what I'm very, very curious about, your brother's vaccine history. And this is what I've seen in my studies and in my practice as well. And MMR has the symptoms like what my son had. The lights are on, but nobody's home. Stacking the blocks, spinning around in circles, shaking the hands. Thankfully for my son, working with him homeopathically, doing the homeopathic treatment of vaccine damage, that has helped him immensely. And I've seen that in one of the books that I have out there by Isaac Golden that has records from his 15-year study from looking at this. I've also got a pink book out there that's actually specifically talking about his approach to treating vaccine damage. But there's a lot of things that we do with homeopathy that absolutely works with vaccine damage. You know, we take the specific vaccines and we potentize them and can and administer these to the patients. And it's absolutely remarkable what can and does happen with working homeopathically for vaccine damage. And indeed, the success rate has even been 100% many times already.
Real quick, we're speaking a little bit about autism, but a lot of the vaccine damage, how it manifests is genetic. So a lot of times there will be a rare disease, and it's probably neurological. It sounds neurological. And in boys, the vaccine damage tends to happen neurologically because they can't filter the heavy metals as well because of testosterone levels. In girls, it tends to filter down through the lymphatic system into the gut. So we see autoimmune issues with girls. We see more asthma, we see more food allergies, we see more autoimmune type responses from the vaccine toxins. So even though they're talking about autism up here, it's all general vaccine damage. Like, that is the root of the cause, and how it manifests, again, is genetics and what people label it as. But again, the treatment is similar, right? Because it's all however the heavy metals are manifesting and what health issue they're causing in that person. So a lot of times the treatments are very similar to what we were talking about over here, even with the arsenic poisoning, and when we talk about autism. So don't be thrown by that word, because vaccine damage, it may manifest in slightly different ways in everyone, but the root of the problem is the same. So here.
I just want to say, did you see the genetic test? I mean, are you sure that he has a pyruvate dehydrogenase deficiency?
My stepdad and my mother were tested to see who was the carrier, and they couldn't find anything on my stepdad's side, so they assumed it was my mom, even though they didn't find anything on the test.
Yeah, so my first instinct is don't buy it, because I'll tell you what they're doing is they'll come up with a diagnosis to cover the vaccine damage. It's being done everywhere. We have doctors doctors that have vaccine damaged children in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and two of them are very good friends of mine. And they watch their child pass away. One of them is Dr. Stephanie Christner. Her story was told in Bott with Dr. Tony Bart, and she watched her child at 6 months expire after a battery of vaccines at 6 months. And the pediatrician, who I also know, I played baseball with them, labeled it SIDS. And it was a big battle, and it's just, they're hiding the vaccine damage behind these made-up diagnoses. If you haven't seen the genetic test that confirms that diagnosis, don't believe it. Just believe that it's probably a vaccine damaged situation, and you need to try to do everything you can. There's amazing stories on the internet of people that have been detoxifying their children and healing their children, changing their gut, and improving. They're getting, 40 to 70% improvement in symptoms. So just don't assume this. Assume the pediatrician is lying to cover up the vaccine damage that he or she was responsible for.
And stop the vaccines.
Yes. Stop the vaccines. Absolutely.
And detox the entire environment.
Yeah.
And his body.
And there you go. There's some hope. They just want to put up barriers to the hope. They just want you to stop right there and not, because if we're right, and we can heal these children from the damage that's been caused by the vaccines, we've really exposed the whole problem that they've been causing for so long.
The whole scam.
Yeah, it is a scam.
The vaccine scam. All right, so there is hope, and I really hope that you reach out and we can give you some resources and suggestions and things like that. Yeah, and definitely change doctors.
Yeah, that's the first step, is get a new doctor.
All right, do we have any more questions? Any more questions?
I'll make it very quick.
Okay, and then I think we're gonna call it a day. Many of us have had a very long day.
Yeah.
4 of us.
Okay, I just wanted to say about detox them to get all those pharmaceuticals that they've already been on out of their system as well, and they're gonna have to taper off, so they're still gonna have to detox. So just that one question right there sparked that being said, and right then all these connections were made. It's like, there's your answer, and it's a 3-part combo. It's tapering, it's detoxing from the tapering, and the heavy metals that probably caused it initially in the first place, and the chiropractic care, which pretty much
And nutrients.
and
Supplements and nutrients. Probiotics.
And the environment.
Dr. G does detox and supplements, right?
Right.
Okay. So really the panel right there has kind of got
That's everything we need.
And everything you need is literally right there in a 3-part combo. And
You are accepting new patients, right?
Yeah, we are.
okay, so I just wanted to.
That's good. So I think we've kind of come.
I left a question up there.
Okay. Oh,
If
Right there.
This one.
y'all make
Okay.
that connection between internal absorption, vaccine, and pharma,
all right.
the dentists are confounded by it. Dentists
Okay.
have no clue what.
You know what? I'm interested in this question quite a bit as well. So I think I'm going to ask it a slightly different way. What about cavities?
Actually, it's from the inside out. It's
Right.
not from the outside in.
Right. So what do we think about cavities? I mean, my take is, cavities are, again, a symptom of the same kind of imbalance going on within our body. We have these symptoms, and instead of a Band-Aid, like a filling, that's a classic form of Band-Aid, right? It will never get better until we heal what's going on inside the body as a whole picture. So there are a lot of great resources out there. There's a great book called Cure Tooth Decay Naturally that has amazing reviews on Amazon, and I've heard personal stories, great stories of it. And there, oil pulling, which was mentioned earlier.
We're doing that for years.
But yeah, so I guess, whole picture. And then if anyone else has something to say on that, oil pulling, homeopathy, I mean, anything?
I was gonna say, if it came to me, I was gonna give it to Linda because she's got about 30 years of dental experience, so hand it to her.
Give it to her,
Awesome.
yeah.
I was told that my sinus cavities were too low, that I need a bone graft.
Nah.
All this other stuff. And it's
Don't
a teeth
believe
thing.
anything they say. If you leave with anything,
TRICARE won't approve it anyway, and I can't afford to do it. So, that the teeth that you see damaged are the teeth that the dentists have worked on. And they would work on my tooth, and if it didn't shatter right then, it was shattered within 2 months. And they just kind of just left me and said, we can't do anything else. So I'm just left with this, and I'm sitting here like, God, no, it's not your will for me.
So what I would say is chronic over-acidity throughout your body. The over-acidity is caused by mineral deficiency.
Yeah, I have that.
Mineral deficiency, with the main mineral you need is magnesium. And magnesium yourself like crazy.
And I just started taking that last month because I was.
Okay, have you read Dr. Carolyn Dean's book? Is it
Magnesium
No, I haven't heard that one.
Magnesium Miracle.
Miracle.
Magnesium miracle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so you've got to start alkalizing your mouth. You've got to be taking all your minerals. You've got to alkalize your body, and so that the acidity is always circulating through your gums. Magnesium especially works better when it's
With,
together.
vitamin K.
Synergist. No.
And
Well, there's 3 or 4 different kinds.
Magnesium chloride is topical.
Chloride is the best.
Magnesium
and
citrate.
It's the most best absorbed, and it's through the skin. It's topical. So magnesium oil. Have you heard of magnesium oil?
I think so, but there's another one that I saw, it's like a cream, and it's like
MSM. Yeah, no, this is magnesium oil, and you can order it online, or or you can even make it. Some people are making it. There's some Facebook pages
Lotions
called
as well.
magnesium. Yeah. So magnesium oil, and then magnesium threonate is the most highest absorbed oral magnesium. It's magnesium and minerals are going to be your best friends, and alkalis.
Okay,
Which
what
is
was the
minerals.
magnesium that was oral, that was magnesium?
I'll write it down for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I want to make sure I'm hearing everything correctly.
Yeah.
All right, so we have officially run out of video, so we're calling it a night. I think we're running out of steam as well. But these have been some great questions, and thank you to everyone who has come today and spent Saturday with us. I want to do one last round of applause for our amazing dream team here, right? I mean, I can't think of any other team I would want on my natural healing team than these experts. And I am so impressed and so happy to have been a part of this. And I know that this information is going to get out there, and you guys are going to go help all of your friends that have these issues and things as well, connect the dots and really heal from within. And we have a great team here and great information. So thank you to everyone. Thank you particularly to our experts, and thank you to everyone for coming and being a part of the change. So learntherisk.org, we're going to have the videos online soon. And again, thank you for being a part of my very first Learn the Risk Health Summit and my vision to make the world a healthier place. So here's the health.